Just yawning, tired, and probably that's just the Monday blues, or probably that's just the fact that we're in the midst of a season in which everybody's trying to enjoy as much as they can with all that is taking place. And all that is taking place is not all paint and powder, ladies and gentlemen. There is not a lot of good news, and unfortunately, sometimes that's just what we have to deal with. But I'm joined by my co-host and colleague alongside me, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Keaton, and I probably would have been one of those drivers, not so much yawning, but I feel fatigued. Those who might know on Face of Sports, I do the NFL. So last night the games were not necessarily pleasant for me to watch because both my picks lost. At least the second game was competitive. But also, just taking a quick glance of the news last night, it seems as though at the start of the month, our murder rates wasn't necessarily reaching the heights that it did at certain points in times last year. And then in the last couple of weeks, especially this weekend, it seems as though something happened. I don't know if it was a full moon, something in the water, or just VAPs. Because of Carnival coming up, it might cause criminals to be more aggressive. I don't know what it is, but the murder rate has more or less jumped to, by one daily newspaper's count, 59 murders, I believe, as of yesterday. So we're more or less at 2 per day, which that is like, I guess now the benchmark that I'm looking at, and I don't want us to see. We were at that point at certain months last year with 2 murders a day, not throughout the entire year, but we got up to about 600. We were almost there when you average it out across the entire year. And that's just, I remember when the benchmark was 1 murder a day. And within my lifetime now, it has doubled. So where do we go from here? The current acting commissioner of police, she had something interesting to say about it. But then also there were other things happening throughout the country that you know, is worthy of attention. And now it's balancing act of, well, what do we do with regards to crime? Do we keep saying the same song and dance? But there's these other things like with the Agri-Society and also Rules Committee proposing significant increases in court fees. Well, I would like to know exactly when will this make the court more efficient? Or will we just be paying for more for the same bad service?
Well, 2 triple murders over the weekend actually brought the count for the Saturday and Sunday to 10. And that has contributed greatly to that toll. We are at 2 a day, actually. Today is the 30th of January, and with 59, we're just under that benchmark. 2 days to go, though, and I don't think the criminal elements will let us down anytime soon.
Well, a cynic could say, well, we were at 59 yesterday, so technically we're over 2 a day yesterday. And all we need is for like 1 or 2 today, and then, you know, there we go.
And just bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, these figures that that are reported, at least, there may be more out there that have not gone unreported. And the murder toll, it has always been my opinion that the murder toll is far greater than what is actually reported. But yes, a lot more that is worthy of attention. Court fees that's being proposed to increase on every level and for almost every single thing within the judicial system. And I agree with my initial thought was, though I understand that it has been quite some time since these fees have not been increased, I too am in agreement with it if it actually translates to a more effective and efficient judicial system. There should be greater processing. There should be more time that is allocated towards the processing of court matters. And I genuinely hope that my support of this move equates to what I hope for.
All right, and the cynics will say, no, that's not going to happen because they're increasing the fees. But first of all, I don't believe, I could be wrong, but even if they were to give us promises of improved efficiency, will we actually experience that? That is one of the issues that we have. And again, I would say it's public sectors across the world. You have issues like the the ones that plague us in different parts of America, including big cities at times. The question is, it's not really about resources. At some point, it just comes down to decision-making, judgment, management, right? And the ability to run something like this. And you could argue, well, it's a complex thing, but there are more complex things. This isn't even one of the most complex things in the country. Okay, yes, it's the judiciary. But to some extent, one could argue that the administration of it should be fairly simplistic once things are running properly.
Well, we're assuming
so then who is going to make the push to actually do that? Because as far as I'm aware, just shuffling the papers, in some cases, yes, that is the problem. But in other cases, it's not. But these sound like increases across the board.
I think we're assuming, though, that it's a simple fix. I think with litigation in place, even with laws, many a times, ladies and gentlemen, which I must admit, I don't know every single law, and even one law, there's so many variances to it, so many different appendices that, quite frankly, it could be rather confusing.
And look at the sector that you're looking to increase the fees. It's already a situation where if you have to pay a lawyer, it's already heavily expensive and out of the budget of the common citizen to do anything with regards to any serious litigation. So now what's going to happen with these increasing fees? Are you literally going to price certain people out of certain sectors of the law and the capacity to either defend themselves or to seek action in the courts? Because
not necessarily, because if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed by the state on your behalf, but there's also legal aid that is available. It's only when you go to the Privy Council in the United Kingdom is it that money comes out of your pocket.
No, but like what? Now, one could argue that, yes, maybe in the States they're over litigious or whatever the correct term is, but my point is, in a situation where consumer protection is not always the best, and one of the ways to defend against that, as we have seen with potential overreach by the state in certain things, like in the case with the imam whose rights were allegedly violated in the prison, you know?
No, not allegedly. The court found
the court found that his rights were violated. With regards to civil court and civil claims against a whole host of issues that perhaps we don't go to the courts enough in this country in order to ensure that, you know, proper service and proper fair treatment is given by private sector entities. This might potentially price that out as well. So
in this particular instance, what you know,
price that out further.
Relating to what you just suggested, what would you deem as consumer protection?
Well, first of all, basic things, I'm not entirely sure to what extent do the authorities efficiently go after it. And maybe it's also underreported, where depending, I pay for a good or service, do I get what I paid for in the expected reasonable working condition? It's fine if I break it at home, it's not their fault. But what if I get a subpar product? What if I get subpar customer service beyond that? I'm not talking customer service about, oh, well, when I was trying to buy something, the sales rep wasn't nice to me. I'm talking about I was taken advantage of in the process. Maybe they sold me something they knew was defective or something that they knew was broken, but they covered it up. Then they didn't get back to me. They have a no-return policy, or perhaps the policy just all of a sudden changed despite what I have been told by other people that shop there. So there are a lot of various things. Or perhaps in the case where, what about in the case of workers? Not everybody is necessarily a part of some big union that will have the financial war chest to go after a corporation or organization. Take the public sector out of it, that's a whole other kettle of fish that has a lot of issues that will color industrial court matters. But with the private sector matters, to what extent are workers being exploited? To what extent do workers not even know their rights? And by the time they find out what their rights are, they might be priced out of any sort of legal remedy if they have no other alternative.
Fair point, and certainly something to continue our analysis and examination of, perhaps with the experts here on the program, because as I said, Sean and I don't necessarily know everything. But as we move forward now, the United National Congress held its, well, ironically, its National Congress yesterday. And the opposition leader is claiming that the United National Congress is both united and strong. She's also extending another olive branch to smaller political entities within Trinidad and Tobago to join hands with the United National Congress in order to remove the current PNM administration from office. Furthermore, she's also sought to actually downplay any suggestions that, in terms of her health, she's unable or incapacitated to continue in the position as leader in the best possible manner. And finally, this was rather interesting. She has suggested that those who are inactive in the sense that they do not hold the position of senator or member of parliament, she used the example of Dr. Tim Gopi Singh actually, have been working behind closed doors with smaller political entities who have expressed their willingness to join hands with the United National Congress. She said it's been kept a secret simply because those political entities are fearful of actually being labeled and of victimization. Now, putting that aside, as we get into this particular topic, I'll just simply say to all those smaller political entities, please learn lessons associated with the MSJ, with the COP. It is not in your best interest, unless you only care about 1 5-year term, to actually join hands with the United National Congress.
Did the MSJ have anybody besides its political leader? Because I honestly don't really know of anybody besides Mr. Abdullah.
I don't think Mr. Abdullah was even a member of parliament.
Right, so take them out of it. The performance of the MSJ, that's more about the MSJ than about the People's Partnership Coalition. But you are right. The COP, on the other hand, more or less, it seemed as though the COP turned into UNC2 or UNC Light or UNC Red and Black, or however you want to put it. And by losing their identity, now look at what happened to them. For the most part, the country more or less decided, well, are you really a political entity, an independent entity that's worth supporting? Not really. You're just more of the same. What's the point of going with the third option, you know, when the third option is more or less just the little brother to the second option? So that's the thing. The People's Partnership and its potential success and then dramatic failure of a re-election campaign at the end more or less makes me question exactly who is talking to the UNC to have any sort of alliance or partnership, and why would any third or fourth or fifth party think this is a good idea in order to defeat the sitting government, just because of how the other partners were treated? I mean, you're not going to get Tobago. I'll be surprised if you do, right? So let's start from there. And what happens now, right? Okay, say you manage to do it. Do you really expect that the opposition leader is going to be amenable to power sharing? You know, to what extent? Because you're going to be the junior partner in this, right? I'm sure the UNC is going to put a lot of leverage their majority within the majority party, within the majority side, rather. So to what extent will your voice really be heard? And it seems as though, since politicians are short-term thinking, you can't say, well, if they do that, then they'll lose the next election. They probably wouldn't care. They probably would not care, and potentially might try to figure out a way to marginalize you in the end. The other thing is this, with regards to the new parties being afraid of victimization, to some extent they are all not associated with the government and the PNM. In one case, the NTA, its leader, you could argue, he's already being victimized, or at least he has that perception that he is victimized. So what has he got to lose? If it was that important to him, he could have joined up with the UNC. Why would he be afraid of more potential victimization? And then now, a lot of these third parties already have former UNC members who, by association, they're not going to be expecting any preferential treatment from the PNM. So what do they have to lose or have to fear as well?
I think use the example of the NTA. I think it is important to him, and that is precisely why he has not joined the United National Congress, because it is important to him. You see, the thing is for me, is what was rather interesting as well is that former Senator Gerald Ramlin said in its current form, the United National Congress is not a viable option. In fact, it is the best possible thing for the People's National Movement. And I agree with him. I've always agreed with him. There's even a former Carney worker who's brought forward a motion to remove the opposition leader. And this is the thing. I'm trying to figure out exactly what gives the opposition leader the backing.
Yes.
What is really her argument to suggest that the United National Congress is currently a united party and a strong party? The current executive, as it stands, does not have the support of many people. What is interesting is that I think that they're really trying to stand.
You think it's the House?
I think they're just trying to stand on the downfalls of the government. But when they bring forward certain arguments, and especially when you hear them speak, especially when you realize they're a complete contradiction of themselves and what they argue against. For example, you chastised the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago for attacking the press. And you take that position, you take that stance. Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you. That's your opinion. Okay, great.
Yeah, that's a fair thing to say. Okay.
A week later, you see Dr. Kirkmew attacking the Express newspaper for an article of which he deemed as misleading. Now, to me, if you want to make a correction and if you want to emphasize this is not the case, you've gotten it wrong, this is actually what took place, this is what you should have published. Okay, I understand that. But to the extent that you go, it's the same thing with the name calling.
Yes.
When everybody got upset for the PNM referring to the opposition leaders, Kamla, Sushila, Prasad, Visasa. To me,
and wait, and here's the question, did they use a mocking version of her name, or did they just say her name?
Well, quite frankly, I looked at the video and I didn't see her mocking it. If it is her name, I didn't see any problem with it. I didn't see the need to use the entire name, but at the end of the day, nothing is wrong with that.
The tone implied something, but...
But then when you have, supporters of the United National Congress outside the Red House referring to President-elect Christine Kangaroo as Christine Kangaroo, then to me, and the United National Congress just does not comment on it at all, does not condemn it, which, as far as I'm concerned, is commending the actions of their protesters.
Yeah, it's giving unspoken approval.
I do not know. To me, the difference between the United National Congress currently and the People's National Movement currently is the mere fact that the People's National Movement is a far stronger party. It seems, the perception is they are far more united, which is very important.
And ironic.
Very much so. And at the same time, though there are many issues that you face with the Prime Minister, and I will never overshadow the fact that there are many issues coming from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, I am still of the opinion that you put him on a platform and you put Kamala Prasad Visasa next to each other, and he will blow her out of the water as it relates to any debate or any conversation.
Well, your first point was interesting, and I think we've asked this last week. Why is Kamala so popular? Why does she supposedly have the support of the entire party, right? And here lies the question. She was saying, was it the leader of the UNC who got COVID 5 times? Was it the leader of the UNC who disappeared for a month on a medical trip somewhere abroad? I feel good. I feel like Hulk. I am strong. I am ready to take on all comers. That's the words of the opposition leader as reported by one of the daily newspapers. Here's the thing. The Prime Minister did get COVID about 3 to 4 to 5 times, but he was traveling. And now we understand that at least to some extent, some of the traveling was to pull off the diplomatic negotiations with regards to the energy sector and to ensure TNT's place in the energy sector. We call for diversification, but at the same time, we ain't going to make money off of agriculture literally tomorrow. We have to figure out our economy right now for tomorrow, right? There's no tomorrow without today. So she says that. The Prime Minister has press conferences where he takes questions from the press. As far as I'm aware, the opposition leader has not taken questions from the press for the longest while. Yes, the UNC Public Relations Officer will probably be more than willing to take all the questions that he feels comfortable to speak about. But what is one of the most ubiquitous phrases we hear from, well, to be fair, on both sides, but we hear from the UNC, well, I have to speak to the leader, I have to talk to the leader, da, 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 da. Like there's always this wall that the leader's approval is needed, but yet the leader is not making herself available to the press, so we could never get her direct opinion on anything, and we always have to wait on her judgment on what opinion we can get. And furthermore, again, ask yourself this, within the PNM, one could argue that Dr. Keith Rowley is one of the better, if not best candidates, and we have a significant question as who comes after him. We're not entirely sure. There might be one or two people you could argue might be better for him. But with regards to the opposition in his party, but with regards to the opposition leader, I think at this point we'll take about half of that slate just to try something else. Because what we have right now doesn't seem to really be working. It's just the same thing every week, every month, every year. We have literally not had anything different to say about the opposition in 2 years. It's the same criticisms. They make the same mistakes consistently. With the PNM, they try to act differently. They might repeat a mistake from before, and then they'll recede back down, not talk as much, then come back up, to try again. But with the opposition, they just more or less just do the same revolving door of mistakes over and over and over without any care at all.
I will not doubt that any government minister will still need to obviously get the blessing of Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley for many reasons, perhaps any interview, but I will say that it is far easier to get through. We've had difficulties, don't get me wrong, in trying to book a guest, a government minister, but it's far easier to actually get through to a government minister than it is to get through to the opposition leader, and it's simply because she cannot do it. So, I'm just wondering, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the Prime Minister had to do many travels, and we even question it, and I will not go back on questioning exactly how he benefited from these travels. But, is there, and I'm just wondering, is there some sort of agreement between the People's National Movement, at least the current administration, and the opposition leader? For as long as she remains there, which is the best thing for the People's National Movement, it works in their interest, that we will protect you from anything. Because bear in mind, who has been prosecuted from the opposition bench for all these allegations? Where's the investigations gone over the last 10 years or so? And, as we conclude, one of the best qualities or best characteristic traits of any leader is knowing when they have done their best, they have served, and it is time to foster a new generation of leaders. That's one of the best qualities and characteristics. I'm not seeing that in Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on Talking Points. And when we return, the conversation continues.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best birthday gifts are at thebesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Join me, Dr. Nalini Kokram, on What's Up Doc, where we discuss all your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this, screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up, Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
Welcome back to Talking Point, folks, on WESN, the only local station broadcast in HD. And the conversation continues for the morning. A lot has happened over the weekend, a lot with regards to crime, but something came up, I believe it was on Friday after the news that the International Soccer Monarch was cancelled, and we spoke about that. But Fair and Lion, she made a comment which I found interesting. Basically, the headline read that the cancellation of the International Soccer Monarch is a symptom of something more seriously wrong with the production of Carnival. However, I actually want to go a step further. I think that it's just a symptom of a larger situation that is still but a symptom of society's overall problem. Because we're looking at Carnival and we're seeing the traditions more or less kind of being phased out. It's not just about Soccer Monarch now not being a tenable event. And I would argue that, you know, on its face, it should be an event that should be more than capable of being productive, at least breaking even, so that, you know, one of the traditions of Carnival, which is tied to modern Carnival, which is tied to the commercial aspect of Carnival, could remain around. But if you can't even make something that's tied to the commercial aspect of Carnival be sustainable, then what hope is there for all of the traditional aspects of Carnival? And this goes then now to the larger picture of our economy, of our society, with regards to traditional industries, with regards to historical industries. First of all, do we have to ask why they might not be doing well, depending on how they're being run and managed? And then, because again, these aspects with regards to Carnival, at least to some extent, the government is involved. Now let's go on to just the wider economy of Trinidad and Tobago. I get the sense that, look, if we really want diversification, the private sector is going to have to do it. But that's an uphill battle because of a lot of unintended consequences of government policies with regards to labor, with regards to infrastructure, with regards to a whole host of cultural norms that, you know, would be very difficult for the private sector alone to try to change without any sort of overall leadership in the country. So to me, the International Soccer Monarch, yes, it's privately owned to some extent. The government puts money into it. It doesn't seem to be viable because of how it's run, and it's going to fail. But right now, what we do have about Carnival that's successful is more or less privately run on its own. And what works in tourism, privately run on its own. What works in manufacturing, privately run on its own. And I do wonder if now we don't really have that support. Yeah, we get grants and stuff for people, food hampers and stuff like that. But we don't have that infrastructure and capital support for private sector to grow, and we have to do it on our own.
Let me just clarify a couple of things here, because I was listening to you, which, you know, kindly forgive me. She said it's a symptom of a bigger problem when it comes to the when it comes to the production of Carnival. Mm-hmm. You said, in your opinion, it's a symptom of a bigger symptom of society as a whole. Yeah. Just to clarify for me, what is the bigger symptom?
Well, the bigger symptom is Carnival itself, as we see. Sorry, and maybe this is where I'm being silly, but it's not just about Soccer Monarch, but it's also about the traditions of Carnival dying. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the bigger symptom of our traditions, one could argue, is being replaced, and we say, oh, this commercial thing and this, and all young people want now is X, Y, Z.
How does that tie into the bigger society? Precisely, what is the bigger society that you're referring to?
Well, the things that are successful are mainly by the private sector, but the private sector is hamstrung by the fact that, one, by having all of these over-bloated state entities and CPEP and URP, which feed into the employment statistics of the country, by the way. The labor market is unbalanced. that already is making it life difficult for the private sector to expand and to get proper labor. And when the labor market could say, I don't need this job, then a lot of people are not going to really care about their job performance. And in fact, you don't necessarily have to care about your job performance in the public sector, and that trickles down to the rest of society. But then there's also the fact that, look, we don't have a transportation plan, so it makes the distribution of goods throughout the country a lot more difficult and potentially more expensive. We don't have, well, electricity generation with regards to certain private sector entities. Over COVID, we saw one of these situations of that where you don't need to use electricity, you're still going to have a $30,000 a month bill. Things like that. There's a lot of unbalancing. The ease of doing business, right? So with regards to the things that the government is responsible for, and this is not about the politicians now, this is more about, to some extent, the bureaucracy and all these systems. Look, the judiciary, and you were talking about for wills.
Yes, the probate office.
With regards to the probate office, right? There are too many things that aren't working properly, and we can't figure it out, and we can't run it or manage it properly. Carnival is just one aspect of that. But we could go across the board with regards to the ferry service at one point in time. You know, the management of that collapsed. So, and I would like to say that the private sector could do it on its own, but it can't, because the private sector still has to exist in the nation that is run by the government and government bureaucracy and the government systems, which seems to be moving at a snail's pace. So as society evolves and demands change, like with transportation, it's one thing when the population was small and there were less cars enrolled. But now public transport is in a mess, right? There's the PTSC is in a mess. So
right,
we're just gonna get congested. So it's a wider issue.
Let's just bring it back to Carnival for a moment. I agree with Fionnan's and her comments, and Professor, yes, I know you're probably saying I agree with everybody. What I would disagree with is that with the point that you've made is that we can't figure out a solution. The reason why I disagree is because I don't think we want to figure out a solution. I think this system in itself has been just left that way. Mm-hmm. You know, and as long as individuals are collecting their paychecks, who cares? And you see, it's not your job when you enter government is to ensure the smooth operation of all facilities, of all services, and to ensure that the systems in place are operating both effectively and efficiently for the best outcome, not only for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, but for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We also live in a capitalist society. I mean, the basic premise of capitalism is that we always work towards a profit. Mm-hmm. And that is the thing. To me, if government is pumping, in this particular instance, $147 million into Carnival, for the mother of all carnivals, you know, for years, not even for years, people have argued Carnival has never made a profit. Mm-hmm. So are we spending $147 million just for people to go jump up and have a good time?
Well, here's the thing. How much of that money is necessary for the actual Carnival Monday and Tuesday, you know, parade of bands?
You see, the thing is that
some of it, but not all of it.
The thing is that you would assume that the government's thinking, and at least I'm trying to find a way around, is that if we are investing this money, we're investing this money for other entrepreneurs, such as those who partake in the Carnival Village, such as the nutsman, such as the vendor on the street. And you even see it after fetes. You even see it after fetes and even these parades. Listen, I'm not saying that this is what I am suggesting. I'm trying to find a reasoning behind government's argument for this expenditure.
Right, because, yes, and I think that's the mindset, right? Okay, but yes, and we put money into it, and a lot of people will find employment. The problem is it's dependent on the government to keep putting money into it. That's not sustainable. Yes, there should be some things that the government should put money into, but we've allowed the situation to get so out of hand. Now I'm starting to wonder, listen, with the vast majority of events that the government puts on, that the NCC puts on, yes, the street carnival on Monday and Tuesday, that moves money. And one could argue that's fine, right? Whatever is invested in that for the most part, unless it's if it's the 100 million out of the 140 million, then maybe we you know, questions need to be asked about why the bill is so much. But with regards to I hate to say this, but with Panorama, the Calypso Monarch, all of these events, the traditional mass, right? I'm not saying that I want them gone, but I'm saying if we can't manage these things properly, and if the public is more or less leaving it behind, can we even justify the expense anymore? When we have serious issues with crime, and it doesn't seem that the TTPS's budget is really changing. So one could argue, if you left no stone unturned and did maximum effort last year, why is it going to be any different this year? And we have other problems. So I get it. Culturally, it's relevant. We should try to hold on to our traditions. But if we're doing it so inefficiently, we have other problems that the money could be used for. 100 million is not a small amount of money on a national scale.
The solution is not to shut down Carnival. The solution is for more of a public-private partnership enterprise. I am always curious, does that 147 million? Yes, but a public partnership enterprise does not involve the government's funding absolutely everything.
Yes, but the sad part is the private part of that relationship thought that was the answer, and therein lies the other issue.
Which is why I'm in total agreement with the government actually putting their foot down. I think it's unfortunate in the sense that it seizes opportunity for a lot of young artists to really display their talents. There's also an opportunity in that missed opportunity, and that is for the music industry in Trinidad and Tobago to actually kick off the ground. You see, I am of the opinion that there are a lot of fixes, a lot of solutions to it. It's just that there's no will to actually get it done. There is always a greater effort in people actually complaining of their toils. I think there's greater efforts that should be put into solutions. And I believe that the solutions are there. Overall, with respect to Carnival, you can't just cancel it, you can't just get rid of it. But the government needs to find a better way for it to be done. That 147 million goes into the production of so many events. But with respect to expenditure, the thing is, the expenditure is there. Listen, what I've seen over the last couple of weekends across Trinidad, I'm not so sure to the extent it's taking place in Tobago, but at least in Trinidad, with all the events, a lot of fetes are not making as much money as before. All their tickets are not being sold. However, the crowds, the numbers are still there. And you have people that are willing to spend upwards of $800 for a ticket, and they go to multiple fetes.
Yeah, but note, those fetes, they have to pay for the fees, for the licenses, so those fetes, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of the $147 million are not to pay for the fetes that we're seeing now.
My point is that the point that I was trying to make, it's simple. It stretches back into something I've always suggested. Trinis have money. Trinidad and Tobago does not have money. And there is a difference. The thing is that when I see what's taking place and the levels of expenditure that is happening, you would never think that the economic situation is what it is or what is being portrayed. And that is the thing, that it's a disillusion. But to me, the thing is, overall, I think that, as I said, and this is my final point, the solution is not to just shut it down. The government needs to be a lot more smart and a lot more wise in terms of how they handle their money and their investments. And the first step I saw was shutting down Soca Monarch. And if they can make stronger decisions such as that, then I will support them.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. The crowds, when people talk about Carnival, and they're a Carnival baby, and they enjoy Carnival every year, they're talking about the fetes and mass. They're not talking about the traditional aspects of Carnival, the vast majority of them. That's being left by the wayside by the consuming public, whether we like it or not. So the question is, can that be turned around? Because the money that Trinis have is not being spent on most of what the NCC is putting on display, right? Maybe Panorama might be the one thing that's viable. But again, to what extent are all of these things being held accountable? That's the other flip side to the problem.
I think another part that I'd like to raise, we have to go for a break now, but for me, do away with this bloody recorder in primary schools and secondary schools as a musical instrument. If you're teaching music, Forms 1, Forms 2, whatever it may be, the steel pan needs to be incorporated into this. More than I don't know, what is this recorded? Is there somebody in Trinidad make the record and so it's a Vine business?
147 million could be used to buy those steel pans.
Steel pans, 1. 2, why? We lost the traditional aspects of Carnival quite some time now. Carnival today is not what Carnival used to be and what Carnival actually started as. Carnival has evolved into this more Brazilian style with feathers and beads. It's not really a Trini Carnival as such. Bear that in mind. Why is it that we don't have and somebody raises this here, I thought, brilliant. Why don't we have wire bending workshops across Trinidad and Tobago? Wire bending is a dying thing in TNT, but it was an essential part of Carnival. Why is it that 147 million cannot see you invest in wire bending workshops? All of that, ladies and gentlemen, could equal to results, not only for now, but for the future. You're building entrepreneurs. Let's take a break here on Talking Point.
Make sure you get tickets early, got them tickets selling already. We have icons, yes, we have legends, and the young upcoming sensations. Become party, social commentary, we have something for everybody. Pressure for them, joker, faker, and lows. Come to Kaiso House, give them.
Kaiso House in the Barricade, Queen's Park, Savannah, January 27th to February 17th, 2023. Tickets available at
Kaiso House in the Savannah, Crosby's Music Center, St. James, Cambodia Restaurant, San Fernando, Bursa Complex, Grand Bazaar, and Tuco Main Office, Jerningham Avenue, Belmont. Meet me in the Barricade.
On Friday, February 3rd, at the Central Bank Auditorium, it's Light Up the Night, Volume 3, a veteran Calypso showpiece. Come, enjoy a night of stars to light up your night with Tobago Crusoe, D. Alberto, Chogdus, Ray Holman, Leston Paul, Short Pants, The Bagman, and Alexander the Great. Showtime, 7:30 p.m. at the Central Bank Auditorium. Tickets cost $250. Get your tickets now at Crosby St. James. Base Limited at 628-5092 or 628-5094. And at the Central Bank box office on February 2nd only. Call for reservations at 621-2288, extension 6345. Don't miss this veteran Calypso showpiece, Light Up the Night, Volume 3, Friday, February 3rd.
QRC Fête Royale. We home!
On Saturday, 4th February, from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m.
We present our honorary Royalians. Voice and the top 5 band.
Cass the Band.
Patrice Roberts.
Ricardo True and the 18 Band.
Nadia Batson.
And Rafi B.
First edition tickets on sale now at the QRC box office.
Bagalito Enterprises.
Online tickets available at ticketfederation.com
and suntix.com.
Sing for your lover, baby, sing for your lover.
But that is not the song.
That is my version for the Valentine's Day promo on WESN.
WESN presents its Valentine's Day promotion, Sing for Your Lover.
Send us a video of the best rendition of your favorite love song for the one you love. All contestants have a chance to win a variety of exciting prizes. Send us your entries to thecontentcapital@gmail.com. All videos will be posted to our social media pages and will be shown on WESN.
Well, okay then. Let me sing for my lover. Let me sing for my lover.
My lover.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to the program, and with the time that we have left before the news on the hour, we are very privileged and fortunate that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service continues their partnership with Talking Point as we seek to educate the public over crime and criminal elements here in Trinidad and Tobago. And our focus for the next few weeks is, of course, over Carnival and Carnival safety. So let me not delay any further in introducing Acting ESP Ashraf Ali. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Once more in the hot seat.
Well, I would say almost every day is a hot seat.
I mean,
literally after
after this weekend, one could argue the seat is a bit hotter today than, say, for the last couple of months. Even I think your acting commissioner of police, she was put in a hot seat herself. Well, hold on, just been told we need to take a break, and we'll continue the conversation when we come back on Talking Point.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. only on WESN Content Capital.
Thank you for staying with us. I can now reintroduce, and you can hear his voice, Acting ASP Ashraf Ali. Hello, sir.
Yeah, it's good morning again, gentlemen.
So, I mean, you know, time is not on our side, so I guess there's a specific thing. Carnival safety tips. My co-host, he brought up the topic there, he could explain it better. But with regards to car theft, there's now some new complications or wrinkles with regards to criminal activity.
Yeah, and over the years, more so coming to Carnival period where you'll have a lot of events taking place and a lot of persons have vehicles parked indiscriminately and about all different areas. And we keep coming and talking about safety tips with vehicles. There's a particular trend that we have been identifying, and over the latter part of last year into this year, we are talking about specific type of cars that we are seeing our statistics stating being stolen. Aquas, Cheetahs, etc. Sometimes each 100 vans. And and a number of these type of vehicles. But what is very worrying for us now is that the trend is no longer about having false number plates affixed to the vehicle. These criminals now identify TIDAs. So let's say if it's on a white TIDA, they would look for a white TIDA with the same number plate and make a number plate exactly like that and affix it to the vehicle. So on first glance, if we get a report, and we check the vehicle, on our system we will see a white TIDA with a number plate X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And that is the exact vehicle that we are seeing.
I suppose this would make it a lot more difficult because before, if you are able to recognize a vehicle with a false number plate, it tends to really get the TTPS ruling in terms of, okay, this is the direction of the investigation.
Yes. So now, when you see our roadblocks and our road checks, persons are saying are becoming more inconvenience. But it's the level of investigation and checks that we have to do. So we no longer have to check the physical number plate and the color of the vehicle alone. Now we have to go in depth. We have to go and check the chassis number and see whether or not it is in fact registered to a vehicle of that nature.
But even with respect to the chassis number, I know that recently there's an article, at least, I won't get too much into it today, more so tomorrow, that even vehicles that have been stolen or have been written off following an accident, the car has been stripped, not for parts, but for the use of the chassis, and then that vehicle is then used in robberies as well. Somebody is suggesting that now in most modern vehicles you have an RFID chip that is implanted with all the vehicle information, and so it makes it nearly impossible for them to actually copy any of the information. Are these solutions, are these simple solutions that will equal to quick fixes, or is it that it's far more complicated, given the fact that the criminal elements in TNT are always evolving and outsmarting, it would seem, the TTPS?
I would say it's not about outsmarting, it's some of the systems that we have in place. So an insurance, so if your vehicle was involved in an accident and it's considered to be, it crashed, and the insurance company would say, okay, we write off the vehicle. Once you write off the vehicle, it's in the possession of the insurance company. Insurance company could sell the vehicle as a crash vehicle. You could purchase a crash vehicle for yourself, and then you go through the process of buying all the additional parts and putting a vehicle back together. Now, that's at your cost. Sometimes people sell the vehicle for scrap. And these are some of the things that we have to look at, that there's a lot of avenues available for criminal elements to utilize different methodologies to deal with crime.
Well, so I have a question now. With regards to the spate of murders, it came out, at least in one instance, where either the people of the household or the community did not want to speak to the police. And something like this, when it reaches the point where, they're finding all the little loopholes or nooks and crannies to find a way to beat the system with car thefts and I believe using the chassis in criminal activity, so it's not necessarily traceable, right? There is concern, of course, about if you add more police powers, it will just turn the country into a police state. So in order to prevent that, shouldn't people be more forthcoming with information? Because it's hard when criminals are doing everything they can to evade the checks and balances. So the witnesses now also not participating. Well, what left is there?
Exactly. So some of the incidents that we have, all levels of areas of crime, all categories of crime, sometimes you need information from persons, not to give you evidence, but just to give you a guidance. Let's, for instance, unfortunately over this weekend we had a number of homicides. Some of them might be considered to be along the initial investigation might indicate might be some gang-related incident, or we're not saying that the persons were involved in any gangs, but you'd have some internal ramblings that they may have and resulted in this. But when you when you're interviewing the individuals or the residents of particular areas, simple information from families and members of the person's type of lifestyle, who they're aligned with, all of that, can give you the opportunity to give your investigation a particular direction where we can now have more information to determine what would have been the motive and carry out investigation to put position to that we can at least get somebody before the court. But physical evidence alone on the scene is not, we need to get that physical evidence to correlate with some individuals so we can match them to put somebody for the court.
Even for an accident, a minor accident on the roadway, insurance companies or even the TTPS, when you go to make a report, will always ask you, do you have an eyewitness, independent eyewitness, somebody who is not in your vehicle, somebody who is in another vehicle, and somebody who may not be related to you in any form or fashion. So I understand that. So my question would not necessarily be, should people come forward with more information? They should. My question would be, how is it that the TTPS can create confidence and probably a sense of security in people who are willing to come forward with information, and those who have their doubts because of mistrust in the TTPS? To what extent could the TTPS work to ensure them that, listen, there's no concerns, there's no worries, everything is treated confidentially, and we promise you that your safety and security is number one priority? Because just saying it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Well, see, we continue on several platforms. We have all the opportunities in terms of our giving information via 555, 800 tips, calling the 999 command center. A lot of anonymous platforms are designed for persons who feel that their information, they want to be confidential in the context. Yes, you may communicate with an officer or investigator who has a level of confidentiality in the information. Now, that is not all. Persons still of the opinion that they may or heard somebody had a bad experience and information shared with individuals. But sometimes just by simply telling us what type of lifestyle that your family member was involved in, we're not going to make any accusations about it. You just need to know what type of lifestyle, what type of environment that who are the friends that he aligns with, right? These are information that might seem to be very insignificant to you, but from an investigative perspective, it gives much more information than it is really intended. So when you're trying to coax these individuals and reassure them that anything that you need to say to us is confidential, we just need information, just having a conversation with you and giving us, some history about the individual. It could be positive, it could be bad. He may have been arrested at some point in time, but that doesn't make him a criminal. He would have arrested and he had an offense, but that doesn't make him a criminal. Mm-hmm. So the less information you give, the more it leaves for circumstantial evidence to come forward, and all these circumstances are adding up unless we get information that will help.
My final question, I'd just like to tie that back into what we were initially speaking about with respect to cars being used for robberies and other criminal activity. Two parts. One, just to bring it up, I'm curious to know, would you say, or is it easy to suggest, or not easy to suggest, but correct in suggesting, that a vehicle with darker tints, regardless of the make or model of the vehicle, could be a target for criminal elements, given the fact that they hide the occupants of the vehicle? And two, what are some safety tips you're willing to share as it relates to citizens actually and patrons securing their vehicles during this particular season?
All right, so tints itself, dark tinted vehicles have two. If you can't see the person inside, you really don't know who it is, right? And it's very subjective. Sometimes offense could have been committed, is being committed within the vehicle, and we don't know, and there might be somebody that the police is looking for, or something like that. So yes, if your vehicle is too tinted, you will be stopped at some point in time in a road check to deal with that. So my advice to you all, to the public, is that tint within the legal limits, right? There are legal limits what you could tint. Right, use it, the legal limit tints. And in the context of safety tips for vehicles, we continue to mention to persons that when you go into events, carpool, the more vehicles, the more potential. If you listen to our data and our information that we are sharing with the public, if your vehicle, unfortunately, if your vehicle falls within the category of the statistically stolen large vehicles, pay more attention to your vehicle. So you know you're driving a Tida, you know you're driving an Aqua, you know you're driving these type of vehicles that has a potential to be stolen, which is easily stolen. think twice about going and parking your vehicle indiscriminately when you go to the events and all these places. Putting some security systems in your vehicle, alarms, GPS. You have to secure your asset. That is the responsibility of you. You have to, because these vehicles are not cheap, right? You have to protect your assets.
Well, safety and security is an investment, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take a break for news on the hour, and upon the return, we'll open up phone lines.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Drowning at Tyrico Bay. Country records over 50 murders in 30 days. Tobago fishermen kidnapped. And internationally, hundreds injured, 3 dead as earthquake hits Iran. Now for the details. The body of a person who went missing at sea on Sunday has been recovered. Reports say the man went missing after getting into difficulty in the water just after midday. Lifeguards responded immediately and a search was launched. The man was recovered just after 5 p.m. The country has recorded over 50 murders. Businessman Sherwin Bernard was shot and killed at his business place, a mini-mart located at the corner of Toko Main Road, Vega de Oropuch. Reports say a lone gunman alighted from a vehicle, shot the victim, and then made good in his escape. This was one of at least 9 killings to take place over the weekend, including 2 triple murders and a double murder. Investigations are continuing. A Tobago fisherman has been kidnapped. Tobago police say 48-year-old Joseph Ram Kisun, also known as Jack Sparrow, of Cottage Trace, Golden Lane, Tobago, was last seen on January 19th. He was allegedly taken against his will by 2 men driving a dark-colored vehicle at the Gibson Jetty, Bonaccord, Tobago. Ram Kisun is of East Indian descent, brown in complexion, black dreaded hairstyle, 5 feet 8 inches tall, slim built, approximately 140 pounds, with bushy facial hair. He was last seen wearing a pair of dark-colored pants and a dark-colored t-shirt. In international news now, at least 3 people were killed and more than 800 injured when a 5.9 magnitude earthquake struck Iran on Saturday night local time, according to Iranian news agencies. Iran's state news agency IRNA said the earthquake hit the city of Khoi, West Azerbaijan province in northwest Iran around 9:45 p.m., citing the Iranian Seismological Center in Tehran. The semi-official Tasman news agency put the toll at 3 dead and 816 injured. Relief and damage assessment operations are underway. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Talking Points. Thank you very much to Denise Martin for news on the hour. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the opportunity now to express your thoughts and opinions with us. And the acting ASP, Ashraf Ali from the Tobago Police Service, is with us. So we will open up the phone lines. I only ask that you please be mindful of the time, be respectful to other callers, and do not call in at the 11th hour.
Well, also we have to ask now, please limit your questions to topics for the ASP or about the crime situation. Let's worry about all the other things on another day. Right now we have the TTPS main ambassador with us, so I'm sure if you have any questions with regards to crime, or maybe you have some solutions or even some good news, you know, call us, let us hear that. We have our first caller from Pitty Valley. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sean and Kitten, and to the officer there.
Good morning.
Sean and Kitten, I want to share some carnival experience with you all here this morning.
Sure.
I was trying to get a ticket for St. Mary's CIC all-inclusive on Saturday. My son go there, so I tried to attempt to go. Sean and Kitten, I could not get a ticket. Ticket was 1,004. Me and my wife was looking to go, that would have been 2,800. Couldn't get a ticket. When I do try to get a ticket now, they're telling me 1,600. I said, no, I wouldn't go. But the party was sold out. So my point, what I'm trying to say, and the younger parties that aged to 20 to 30, where they wear bad suits and stuff, sold out at $800 and $900. And these are the people from 20 to 30 who they say can't get jobs in the country, things are hard. But Keaton, I remember you saying something about 3 weeks back or a month back. I don't know if it has generation wealth in the country. Because I don't know where the money are coming from.
Yeah.
So I think probably it's generation wealth.
Possibly.
My last point I want to leave with, Keaton and Sean, you know, people will accuse you all of being UNC.
Really?
Well, now, when you all talk this morning, the UNC people now will accuse you all of being PNM.
Quite possibly.
So you all are doing your job very, very, very well and balanced. And I will like to suggest to Ms. Christine Kangaloo, when she is picking her independent senator, I think she could come to tour you all. You all do a beautiful job on the bench as independent senators. Have a nice day, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Well, caller, yes, $1,400 for a ticket. There were tickets that were available, by the way. The event, all the tickets were sold out. But when I say tickets were available, you could have purchased it for $1,600, and that's very difficult. And the thing is that, as I said, Trinidadians have money. Trinidad doesn't have money.
Some Trinidadians. It's basic economics. If something is going to sell out, it probably was underpriced. In times like this,
but
that might not be what people
adds another dimension. And we will continue talking. Where are the person's priority?
Very much so. We have a caller line with us from San Fernando. Excellent point, acting ASP. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice haircut, Peter.
Thank you.
ASP Ali.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have a question for you, and this is a genuine concern. Is Trinidad and Tobago becoming more difficult to police?
Excellent question. Excellent question.
I would say, you finished your question, sir? Yes, but I would say that he more or less hit the nail on the head. And policing is not just what the law enforcement officer responsible for. Policing encompasses a dynamic amount of different facets. If you look at policing, what policing is meant to be. When you have different areas of society not in sync with the laws of the land, it is becoming very challenging holistically to police Trinidad and Tobago, because everybody has different views and point of views as to how they should be policed, or whether or not they should be policed, or what the police should be doing, or what they should not be doing.
What's a crime?
What type of crime the police should be investigating, as opposed to everything else. So it is becoming very dynamic. It is more complicated, and it is not as straight across the board anymore.
I can imagine so. Well, we have a caller line with us from Dowdy, but caller from San Fernando. Very good question, and I would like to expand on that as a topic on Talking Points. But we have a caller line with us from Dowdy. Good morning, caller.
Very pleasant morning.
Good morning, Mr. Blackman. Good to hear from you, sir.
How are you, sir? Lovely haircut there. Looking very dapper this morning.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to tell Superintendent Ashraf, I want to commend him and the TTPS for an excellent job they've been doing with Carnival over the years. However, I am not seeing, you see, the Carnival is just like a 2-week thing, and I'm not seeing or hearing anything about a work program, plan for the next 5-10 years. So therefore, I think you all are actually just missing the target, Superintendent, because you do a good job. You bring out everybody off a leave, no leave. People come out and they patrol the streets, and Carnival is safe. And after that, problems. I'm looking at the statistics this morning, Superintendent. 50 murders in 30 days. That is not acceptable. And if you use that as a benchmark, not as a benchmark, as a point to help you project what the rest of the year would like, you too wouldn't like it, Superintendent Ashraf. So, in a like manner, I heard Mr. Archie saying on another station this morning how you have patrols here, patrols there, and that kind of thing, but I still think the TTPS is missing the target. Thanks and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, caller. Acting SB, I give you the opportunity to respond, but we do have a call on the line with us from Trinity. I'm sorry, did we lose the caller? Okay, caller from Trinity, we apologize for that. You can call back in because we do have time with Acting SB.
Yeah, so I agree with the at face value, when you look at the statistics, the projection doesn't look good, right? So we have to accept that. Whether we like it or not, the projection does not look good. What happens for Carnival, and when you use the term all hands on deck, it literally means every single resource available to the police service is put in place. All the other branches, units, and sections are shut down to minimal staff to function in those areas. Remember, during the course of Carnival, there's no court, right? So all the persons who are working in all these courts, the court system, the court staffs are pulled out. The administration branch of the police service is shut down. So all the officers are out from administration branch, and all the other sections that can be spared, even in the homicide division, officers are pulled out. And leave a minimal strength to continue the level of investigation that they have to do. So you have additional resources coming out.
This is Monday and Tuesday?
Monday and Tuesday. So as of Friday, all officers in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, once they are available, they are pulled out for the Carnival period and put on the street. Now, the level of, to maintain that on a daily basis, it means that you have to sacrifice certain sections in the police service, which has a crucial role. After Carnival Monday and Tuesday, with the number of murders that we have on the homicide department still has their function because you still have the investigation. And the administration has to function again Monday morning, Ash Wednesday morning. So all the officers are back into their department to carry out the functions of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. So yes, it is difficult to maintain that level that we put out on the street on Monday and Tuesday. But the reason why we do that, because Carnival Monday and Tuesday is unique. The volume of persons that are on the streets Carnival Monday and Tuesday is not the same level on the rest of the days.
Acting SB, I want to come back to that point, but we have a caller now with us from Digger Martin. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just want to comment concerning the murder rate is really out of hand, boys. 59 as far as I see this morning. And the kind of weapons these people using in these murders and things. Borders, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong with the protection of the borders. And also, all those legal ports. They have to be checking constantly on them because guns are coming through legal ports as well.
Yeah.
And I heard, with all due respect to the Minister of National Security this morning on a program, speaking to two youths, and I can't forget his name. I don't know what this man is telling these two youths. He's talking about Christianity, but not talking about crime. He's talking about what, people should do and what they shouldn't do. And this is a real life story, even with the youth, and I was, they could see those by he was speaking. So So I don't know, you're really going to try somebody else because I think that is beyond his portfolio. Gentlemen, you all have a good morning and thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much. I think the Minister of National Security has the gift of the gab, but I don't think we're falling for it that much anymore, so he should probably look to return that gift, see if he can still get anything for it. But Acting SP, two questions I have for you. The first question, as it relates to bringing out the entire force for Monday and Tuesday, what you said from Friday actually. There will be officers, Carnival Monday and Tuesday, they're not public holidays. There will be officers who have to actually come in for duty, right? Mm-hmm. But there are officers who might be off. Is that these officers will have to be paid double time over time fees? You know, does that come into the equation as well? So right. In other words, the financing of your operations from Friday to Tuesday.
So they don't get pay any additional. Police officers don't get pay any additional money for working for Carnival. Right? The public is of the opinion we do. Our salary remains the same. What we do get is a gratuitous award that we may be entitled to additional 4 days for the Carnival Monday and Tuesday that we can take at a specific time period that they give us that we can take. All the officers who perform duties have that additional 4 days to take. 4 days leave that you will be paid just as good as paid leave, right? Add to your vacation leave and everything else. So we just get 4 days. So it's not to say that we get additional monies, right? But we get that. So a number of officers actually come out and give up their service. People don't understand that it's giving up your service for Carnival. Officers, because at the end of the day, it's my family, it's your family who is trying to enjoy Carnival. Mm-hmm. And if I am not there to make sure that they are safe, right? I have to leave my home to come out to protect everybody else. And I'm hopeful that the other officers in the other jurisdictions do the same because they may how to protect my family when I'm at a different location. And that is generally how police officers have this operate for Carnival. You know.
Coming back to my second question, but we have a call now with us from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Gentlemen, I got cut off with the questions asking you to call back.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah, especially the other part was I think it's the level, the indiscipline. Well, the hardest, let me rephrase that. The fact that Trinidad and Tobago is getting more difficult to police has to do with the increase in discipline in the entire society. One of the things I wanted to ask, is there anywhere where a member of the public can go and get the statistics as to the number of police reports throughout the system? Because I'm trying to do some research, and I would like to get access to that data of the amount of reports and go through the reports and dissect it. Is that possible? Because I can't find it on the police service website. Thank you.
All right, so you will be able to, thanks for the question, caller. Yes, you can get the statistical data from our CAPA branch, our Crime and Public Analysis branch, but you have to send an application in and give specific reasons why you want that data. Now, the data that you're going to get is numbers, statistical data. You would not be able, nobody will be able to get access to the physical reports because those are confidential reports that persons would have to think, because that level of analysis that he or she is looking at, that the caller is asking for, he needs to get the report and go through the report to determine, from if I gather what he's talking about, actually get copies of those reports to do analysis from that. That require a different level, or whether or not, I'm not too sure whether or not that he will be able to get access to that.
There is, though, however, a page on the TTPS website. Now, it doesn't have all the stats for last year. It tends to be 2 months behind. Yeah. That gives, you could get the basic stats on the reports as you mentioned. So now, I don't know if it's that you can find that page, ttps.gov.tt/stats/crime-totals-by-month. If you look it up, it'll actually be a tab that you could click on. But I just Googled current statistics.
Well, I think the caller said that he went on the website, so I suppose that's not specifically what he was looking for.
Either that, or I would recommend you trying a different search,
but
just to see.
Acting ASP, my other question is, and this ties back into the question from the caller from San Fernando as it relates to TNT becoming more difficult to police, as well as the call from Dabadi on a crime plan. I'm curious to know, given the fact that what is the murder cases that have been solved versus cases that of crime that have been committed? In other words, you might have 600 murders as of last year, but only 30 were actually resolved. In that instance, is the plan from the Trans-Tobago Police Service just to allow gang members to kill out one another? Is that a plan from the TTPS, or is it that you can't comment on that?
I would say I could comment on that, and that is not a plan. All right? And that will never be a plan of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Our responsibility is to protect lives, right, and make Trinidad and Tobago safe, and make all spaces in Trinidad and Tobago safe. And that's our vision, holistically, in a nutshell. And we do not support violent crimes, persons doing criminal acts. What we do is try our utmost best to get those individuals prosecuted and put before the courts. Now, in doing that, where the callers have mentioned whether or not it becomes very challenging for the police service to police, there are several different factors that we have to consider in that whole scenario, and in this whole scenario of why our murder rates are going up so high.
I apologize, I'm just going to have to ask you to pause on that, because we do have a caller online with us from Barrackpore. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Very interesting program this morning, and I'm glad I have the opportunity to call in to voice my opinion and to ask a question or whatever. The topic all you're talking about this morning is security of the country and the problem the police having and with the citizenry and all these sort of things. But then again, as a layman, as a normal man, I should say, on the streets, I know as far as fact that the police themselves, sorry to say it in a hard way, but the police themselves know who the criminals are, but they are not doing anything to help the position. For instance, they go talk and say, you know, that man bad and that man bad, but what we as the ordinary citizen could do about it. For instance, let me just draw a little reference. In a couple of years ago, a picture was circulating on Facebook about a guy who had a gun. I did take 2 days after that the police held the guy and asked him to apologize and call Mr. Griffith uncle and all kind of thing. 2 days. It has been 80 years now, Gunin, that the former Attorney General's son and children who were held with pictures of a long, long gone. What are the police doing about it? So you see, this is the kind of thing that have we, as the ordinary citizens, kind of where we are the police excuse and all kind of thing, you understand? And then we have the Minister of National Security, who I say is not doing a good job, coming and saying his job is not to protect the citizenry. I want to ask the police service if they are satisfied with the minister, and if we manufacture gun in Trinidad and Tobago, and if not, how come we have so much being a little place to control? Thank you very much, brothers. Well, have a nice one. I'm waiting for all the answers. And the police answer, why is it that the former Attorney General were not question or whatever it is up to now?
Thank you, caller. Have a good day. You know, you said that you think that the Minister of National Security is not doing a good job. I'm so sorry. It is unfortunate that you wouldn't be able to judge him as to whether or not he's doing a good job or a bad job. The question, rather, is precisely what job do you speak of? What job is he doing? Anyway, you know, acting SP, the caller asked quite a number of questions, and I don't think that you would be able to answer every single one of them.
But the one that came to my attention is the issue of when the caller talk about police officers knows criminals. And we all know who's the bad men. It's true. We all could say that this individual was arrested, this individual is involved in this, and here the word I'm using, we all can say, we all can speculate, we all can speak among ourselves, but the police cannot go before the court with hearsay. They need evidence. And the reality of it is that we need evidence to support what persons are saying. Yes, we may know. An individual may be arrested on one occasion and put before the court for a matter. Does that make him a criminal? I don't know. But the fact is that if we do not get evidence to put someone before the court, everything else remains as hearsay. And that is what the problem, that is a challenge that we have in the police service, and we're talking about persons giving information to us. They expect the police to know everything about an individual. And when we speak about an individual, we come out and say, yes, this individual, we have information and that this individual was involved in criminal activities, because the evidence that we are looking at is the criminal record of the individual. But for the specific crime that he is being accused of, that we are looking at, no one comes forward and no evidence to support that particular crime. And that is a challenge I continue to face with the number of homicides that we have. Everybody is of the opinion that because we say that a person is involved in gang, is unknown to us, that means once you are known, we're supposed to arrest. The Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago does not support that.
I find it ironic that usually Hollywood and TV will give people false assumptions of things, but even on TV, with all the cop shows, you know, they know that the guy is a criminal. They still have to find evidence to prove it. So it's not so simple. You literally, that's usually a trope where the partner has to hold the cop back. It's like, we know he's a bad guy. It's like, yes, but we need to prove it, blah, 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 blah.
And when you look at the movies, criminal movies, at the end of the day, the police always catches the bad guy. True? That is the movies. It's set in script. But all the evidence leads to an individual. And everybody gives, and when you're interviewing an individual, they always give information that leads towards the suspect. That is how we have to get evidence.
Well, we're just about out of time, but the caller did ask something. There's more than one thing I would like to ask, but I'll just ask this. With regards to firearms, is it that guns, for the most part, is it that they're cheap on the streets? Is the supply that's coming in, is it cheap to basically buy illegal firearms? When I say relatively speaking, because it seems as though we have so many available for gangsters to use.
There is a challenge with respect to firearms. Firearms are no longer being paid for with cash. They are bartered for.
Interesting.
Right? So when we look at cash transactions, it is not always cash transactions. There are arrangements between the criminal elements that you give me this, I will accept payment on X, Y, and Z. So firearms are not really purchased per se, and the influx of firearms from different countries, yes, we don't manufacture, but the countries that have firearms, it is easily available for distribution within those jurisdictions. That makes it the restrictions of moving it from their borders makes it easier for it to reach to our shores.
Well, I call from Barrackport. Sean and I will try to answer your other questions as it relates to the former Attorney General in a later program. As it being manufactured in TNT, as far as we're aware, no. On the flip side, guns are being built from parts and pieces here as well.
But also wholesale imported through legal ports of entry, the airport, yes, the seaport as well, but it's not just being smuggled in on boats and pirogues throughout the coast.
You know, two things very quickly before we close. One, my question as per the TTPS, just allowing gang members to kill gang members, ties back into something that you said. Let us know about all the activities that your child, your ward, your family member was involved in. And the reason why is because the TTPS might not write off the case and say, okay, you're not using a gang member, so case closed. But they might just not pay as much attention to it anymore. And further to that, you just made a revelation that it's being bartered for guns on the streets between gang members. And I know we had a program before where you said intelligence is not evidence, but I'm curious to know precisely how you got that information, where you got it from. But I know you can't, you know. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to all our callers this morning for joining us here on Talking Point. Thank you to our directors and acting ASP Ashraf Ali. Good seeing you once more.
It's a pleasure to always be here. Trinidad and Tobago, please be safe out there. Listen to the tips that we are sharing with you. At the end of the day, it's for your safety and the safety of your family. Carnival is knocking on our doors. Everybody wants to enjoy the carnival period. Please be safe. Do everything that is necessary to protect yourself and your family for carnival, please.
Sean?
Just simple. I know it's not easy, but please, folks, do your part. Don't worry about who's not doing their part. If somebody else is failing to uphold their end of the bargain with regards to crime fighting, that's for them and whoever has to judge that. We need to still try to do what we can.
And well done to the TPS, because I know that over the weekends, especially when all these fests are being held, there are a number of roadblocks taking place at various intersections along one lane, such as the highway. So well done to that. I commend that. Keep it up and make the roads a lot safer. But as Sean said, do your part as well. Don't drink and drive. Enjoy it. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, today is a good day to have a good day and a great week ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
WESN